And welcome into SportsZone All Access here on this September the 4th, Thursday. And it is our 23rd show. It's got me thinking now because we were talking about this.
23.
Yeah, 23
no,
because we didn't have one on Labor Day. And that's where I was going with this. That conversation is going to be everlasting. And what will probably be the undoing of whenever we forget what number show we're officially on, because we lost a day in there with Labor Day, which is fine, but it's going to throw us off. It's going to throw us off. What won't throw us off is football season's already started. We know that. We've had college football games locally, nationally. We've had high school games, already 2 football Fridays in the book, the next one tomorrow already. However, the NFL starts today, and there's a lot of excitement into it as well, and that includes some local games that will be going on. And I did include one random game because there's only 4 local-ish teams playing today. So I threw in what I thought was going to be the best non-local game. So we can talk about these. Chiefs-Chargers, and that's the only one that doesn't have an at on it because neither of them are at each other. They're both playing in Brazil on Friday at 7 p.m. on YouTube. It's kind of a little bit of a different thing, Ian. It'll be a new thing watching a football game on YouTube for the first time.
I mean, we saw the NFL go to Brazil last year. The same Friday, it was Eagles and Packers.
Right.
And they're just putting it in so many different ways and kind of seeing what sticks. And I kind of like the innovation of saying, well, okay, maybe we can draw in a new audience here. Think about a couple of years ago, the Nickelodeon games.
Yeah.
And you think of, really, NFL games on Nickelodeon? And
I enjoyed that.
And then you turn it on and you see what it is. And yes, it's an NFL game, but there's a lot of different things too. So not saying that NFL on YouTube is going to have what the Nickelodeon games have, but it's a way to try to draw in a new audience, and especially for so many people that are getting their TV provider not through the local cable subscriptions anymore. You and I talk about it all the time of seeing, where we're getting our games from, and why not tap into that audience? The NFL is trying to be forward thinking here.
Trying to. It's interesting. It's interesting, and we'll see how it goes. Right, that'll be what happens. We'll see how it goes. When you look at the local games, though, or localish teams, you got the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Packers are kind of local. The Vikings are obviously the most local team, and when you look at that list, Chiefs-Chargers, great game on Friday. Titans-Broncos, I don't think will be a very good game. And then you have Lions-Packers, Vikings-Bears, which I think should be really good games as well. So a lot of really good local games going on. You might say, oh, you're not going to dive into the Vikings preview? We will on Monday. They don't play until Monday night. And so we have a chance to kind of talk more college today and high school tomorrow. And that's the way we're going to approach it with our time here, and save more time for Monday when we're recapping all the college and high school to be like, oh, by the way, the Vikings play tonight. So that'll be on Monday night when they play the Bears. Lions-Packers, really good game, maybe the best game of the weekend. That's on CBS on Sunday afternoon. And then I threw that other game in there for fun, Ravens-Bills. I think that game should be a really good game too. So
look for a lot of points in that one.
Yeah, I think the over-under is over 50, which is the highest total points, I should say, in the week 1. So, yeah, a lot of fun. We'll have fun watching it. That's for sure. By the way, if you want to be a part of the KELOLAND Pro Football Pick'em, head to KELOLAND.com and get in on that weekly prizes for the winners. So
see if you could beat us on our picks.
Well,
we're in there.
This doesn't take much, but we pick with our hearts sometimes when we shouldn't. Let's talk some college football now, and you have USF taking on Northern State this weekend, which will be kind of fun. And an interesting thing, I talked to Coach Schmidt today, and I said, how different is it? Because most of the conference got going last week, as most of the country did. Northern State didn't. We have not seen the Wolves yet this year. And he said, well, we're kind of chasing our own tails right now, where USF started practice 10 days earlier than us because they started their season earlier than us. So he says, we're kind of behind them in practice. We're behind them in obviously a game played. And so he said he would definitely, in a perfect world, rather have played last week. He didn't. I think they'll still find a way. But USF Northern, that's fun to get the conference slate going for these two teams in a rivalry fashion.
It certainly is, and that's a really good point with the practice. You you don't think of that aspect of it. You think of, well, practice starts for everyone on this day, so no matter when your first game is, this is when you start. But it goes by the number of days before the first game.
Yep.
So I was thinking, before you mentioned that, I'm thinking, okay, well, they've
had more practice.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
They have an extra week where they were focusing just on themselves, didn't have to game plan last week.
Right.
But instead, USF knows what game speed looks like already this season. They did it a week ago tonight, and it'll be 9 days in between games. So they get kind of an extended week to lead up to Northern State, whereas Northern State is behind the eight ball, starting full practice a week later. So it's really an interesting dichotomy, but anytime you get an in-state rivalry, it's going to be a fun game. The crowd is going to show up. Northern State travels well no matter where they go, so that they're going to bring a good crowd to Bob Young Field.
Yeah, it will be a great crowd, and, there's so much to watch in this game. I'm intrigued to see how Northern State does. They brought in some transfers, and Mike Schmidt today said we may have one of the top probably one of the top transfer classes in all of Division II. Like, they brought in a lot of talent. They brought in a wide receiver that started his career at Alabama and then moved on to Abilene Christian in the FCS and is now at Northern. So has been around. I mean, anytime you can get on Alabama's roster, he said, Coach Schmidt's like, you're obviously talented. So I look forward to this game. And we're going to have coverage of this game. You can watch it live, 6 o'clock to 6:30, that half-hour window on KELOLAND Plus and KELOLAND.com. The rest of the game will be on Kelo Extra and KELOLAND Plus and KELOLAND.com. You can find us everywhere. A lot of excitement for this in-state matchup in week number 1. Talk about a lot of excitement. How about that Augustana game last week? You weren't here on Tuesday to kind of recap this, but this game was crazy, and it was a great start for Missouri Western. Augie takes the lead. Looks like they're going to kick a field goal. That gets blocked. Missouri Western then takes the lead. Augie's got to score with 10 seconds left. This game was intense. For Augie fans, they hope Saturday against Jamestown's a little more quiet, but either way, they're off to 1-0 start.
Well, you got the fireworks right out of the gate. You just hope that if you're a football fan, you hope that every game the rest of the season is like this.
Absolutely.
If you're an Augie fan, maybe not so hard on the heart and the blood pressure the rest of the season, but just one of the best games we're going to see all season long. Can put that on the medal stand somewhere, and we're only 1 week into the college football season. But this is fun though. Now that Jamestown is in the NSIC, this is a conference game for the Vikings. This is Jamestown's first season in the conference, so it'll be interesting to see how they stack up against not only Augie, who's one of the best teams in the NSIC, back-to-back conference champions, but really how they fit into the whole landscape of the NSIC.
Yeah, the whole landscape of D2, and they started last year with basketball, right? Jamestown came and played Augie in a doubleheader. They tried to get their feet wet in basketball. It's so much harder in football, though, right? Because when you have to play your conference games, that might leave you one non-conference game. And so even if you play that one against the NSIC, you still don't really get your feet wet. And so for Jamestown, this is a team that's been in the NAIA for years. They were with the North Star Athletic Association, same one as Dakota State. Well, that athletic association disbanded, and now Dakota State's off in the Frontier Conference, still in NAIA. And Jamestown said, we're ready. Let's take the jump. They did. They'll play Augustana. Talk about a tough. Here's the 2-time defending conference champions to open up your conference run. Not easy for the Jimmies of Jamestown. And then we'll wrap up our first part of the show talking baseball. Yeah, so we're still hanging on to baseball. It's that time of year, playoff baseball. It felt like playoff baseball Wednesday night when these two teams played. It was a little chilly out. And you talk about cold, the Canaries bats were cold. They struggled to hit the baseball. And in fact, got blanked, lost 5-0, gave up 3 runs in the first 4 batters. And then their pitching was really good after that, 2 runs over 8 innings, but it was a little too late, already down 5-0. And now they got to go to Sioux City and try to sweep on Friday and Saturday.
Anytime you lose game 1 in a 3-game series, you put yourself beyond the 8 ball. I mean, anytime you lose any type of series, but especially just a 3-game series, now you have to go undefeated. You have to go 2-0, and you go on the road for that too. You really wanted to win in front of the home crowd in what could be the last home game of the season. Now, of course, if you're a Canaries fan, you don't want it to be, but it's we've seen this several times with the Canaries. Sometimes they'll explode for offense. I was there on Sunday, and they scored 6 runs in the first 3 innings and then coasted from there. Then they get blanked 5-0 a couple days later. So it's all about the hot pitching. And Sioux City had the hot pitching on Wednesday night.
Hot pitching too, yeah.
And now it's all about making those adjustments and getting back to the win column on Friday.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. They need that win. They can't lose. It's a best-of-3 series in the first round. Again, it's kind of weird. The American Association, the top seeds get to pick who they want to play. Sioux City said, we want our interstate rival, and they went and beat them in the first game. Now they have 2 chances to win one. That next game on Friday night, if necessary, Game 3 on Saturday. Well, we're going to step aside on SportsZone All Access. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of high school football and the President's Bowl. We'll have that when we come back to SportsZone All Access. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access here on this Thursday, September the 4th. We talked NFL already. We talked a little college football already. We'll actually have a little bit more college football to talk about here in a minute. But let's transition to high school football, and let's talk about the President's Bowl. It may be one of the biggest events that happens every year in high school football. And when you talk about fundraising, it is the single biggest fundraising event that the Sioux Falls School District does for their all of their activities. And so that's pretty neat when you think about how much money that they raised with these 3 games. And this year it's an active day too. 3 games to be played. O'Gorman Lincoln at noon, Washington Harrisburg, and here's Harrisburg right now. Washington Harrisburg at 3 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock is Jefferson Roosevelt in that West Side rivalry. And so the President's Bowl, it is a special thing, Ian, and it's always cool to see. The last couple of years, they've done all 4 public schools in Sioux Falls. This year, they're mixing it up and having 3 games.
It's a lot of fun. First off, just having these big classes play on a Saturday game. That right there makes it special. You don't think of a high school football game at Saturday at noon, and yet here we are. We have that. So that in and of itself makes it special. Of course, the fundraising part is great, and that's the big part of it. But you're kind of a standalone game, or almost a standalone game. It means more eyeballs are going to be watching, which makes the games more fun, draws more people in. Sure. And the fact that they're now expanding it out to include the Harrisburg community, to include the O'Gorman student body, and you know that you're going to draw not only now fans of the Sioux Falls 4 public high schools, but you're going to draw fans from both of those schools, so you're reaching an even bigger audience. Yeah, it's a pretty cool event, and a lot of people are excited for it.
President's Bowl is just one of those events that everybody gets up for. Everybody's excited about. It's a main event in town, and it's not just families coming out to watch their kids play. It's a community thing.
It's a community thing, he says, and that is the cool thing. The whole city of Sioux Falls will kind of rally around this, and the cool thing is we're going to have coverage of one of the games, and I think it's a very exciting game. And actually, number 5 O'Gorman versus number 1 Lincoln. O'Gorman now bumped up; they're now number 4. When we ran this graphic on Monday, the new rankings hadn't come out yet. So O'Gorman number 4, so number 1 versus number 4 in that, and then we still have another game. We have 3 versus 4 in Madison and Del Rapids, as well as Madison just got bumped up in the rankings as well. So, 2 ranked matchups on the docket. Ian, you get to be on the call for that Del Rapids-Madison game, which will be our game of the week on Friday night. And that should be a pretty darn good one up there in 11A. 2 matchups right there. Both teams have a lot of playoff experience against one another.
No doubt.
It feels like every year you see somewhere Lincoln versus O'Gorman in the playoffs, and you see Madison versus Del Rapids. Jordan DeSmit on the call with each of us for those 2 games, and just previewing those and talking to the coaches about it. They're really excited about kind of this measuring stick just 2 weeks into the season. Well, and both of them, for Madison and Del Rapids, they both looked really good last week. picking up double-digit wins, both on the road, too, to go with that. Now they go up to beautiful DSU's new stadium up there. Ian was up there last year for the world's longest game, Lennox and Madison. That game was very long. There was a lot of points in that game. There was a lot of penalties in that game. That one took forever. And then you turn around Saturday, and Jordan DeSmit and I will be on the call for O'Gorman Lincoln. And this is a Lincoln team that within a minute of the second quarter had scored 5 touchdowns in their first game. They're going to score. And I think every opposing coach knows that. The question is, can you take advantage of their very inexperienced defense to find a way to score yourself? Well, we'll see. And that's just the start of it. Those 2 games we'll have live. We'll also have USF versus Northern State live. A trio of live games coming your way to go with Football Friday, which we have 14 games as well as that. So busy football weekend. And Ian mentioned it high school-wise. He gets to be running around shooting high school games on Saturday. It'll be fun to see how he tries to be in Brandon and the 6 o'clock President's Bowl at the exact same time. I don't know if he's worked that one out yet.
And be live on the news all at the same time.
Yep. Shoot the first few minutes at Brandon, go live, shoot some more at Brandon, race over to Howard Wood, then go back and anchor. He'll be a busy guy. So, yeah, you can watch the USF Northern game and then tune in with him. He'll have good stuff coming for you from a busy Saturday afternoon. Well, we've talked about college, high school, NFL. We're going to go back and talk college as we talk with USF, who we've partnered with this year to bring you 2 live games. And welcome back to SportsZone All Access here on this Thursday, September the 4th. And we previewed the USF Northern game a little bit. I'm excited for that game. Should be a really good one. Northern's got a lot of new faces, and USF's got a lot of old faces, got a lot of talent back. So I think this should be a really good game, maybe one of the best in the NSIC this weekend. But what's cool about this is an agreement that we had here at KELOLAND to go with USF, bringing you 2 in-state matchups this season, and we think you're in for a couple of good games this year. The 2 games to air on KELOLAND Sports are much anticipated matchups, including USF's game against Northern State on September 6th and the Augustana game on October 4th.
You're talking 2 in-state rivalry games, which when these schedules come out, these are 2 of the games that get scheduled or get circled on the schedule, right away as Augustana and Northern State. So we're really looking forward to it.
The Key to the City game on October 4th features one of the best rivalries in all of Division II football.
One that I know our students look forward to and our community members look forward to. It's a big deal, and so we're excited to host that this year.
The live productions of these games will be another opportunity to see local talent. Augustana has 31 players from South Dakota on their roster, while Northern State has 29 and USF 18.
We got some very local guys and some very regional guys, which, each one of those guys bring, families and friends that come to ball games.
The 2 contests will mark the first time that KELOLAND Sports has done a live production with the Cougars.
We're super excited about this being on Kelo, and just another great way for our fans to really follow along, and we have a variety of different ways for people to do so, and this is just a great opportunity, and I've always appreciated our relationship with Kelo, and this is another great chance for us for people to see our stuff.
Yeah, we think it's a great opportunity as well. Anytime you can get college football on our airwaves is pretty cool, and for USF, these are 2 cool games too. USF Northern State, USF Augustana. Two of the more important games in the state of South Dakota for college football this whole season.
We heard it right there that anytime for the teams, there's even a little extra juice for it. And you know that for the fans as well. And now you don't have to go to Bob Young Field to go to those games. Just sit at home and turn on Kelo and watch. And it means that those rivalries can reach a bigger audience.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it all the more fun.
Yeah, bigger audience. Anywhere in the world if you're KELOLAND Plus and KELOLAND.com, or if you're anywhere in the state for Kelo Extra. So Yeah, pretty cool opportunity. We're looking forward to calling those games. Well, we are going to wrap up today's show. When we come back, you're watching SportsZone All Access. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access here on this Thursday, September the 4th. Wrapping up today's show, we talked pretty much about football the entire time. There was a little glimpse of the Canaries, who got to keep their season alive with a win on Friday if they can keep that up. But we won't be covering that tonight. Here's a look at what we'll be talking about. We'll talk about SDSU. Huge game here, Ian. This is number 2 versus number 3. They were maybe the biggest game in the FCS last week when it was number 4 versus number 15. Now it's 2 versus 3, and they're certainly the biggest game in the FCS this week.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And it feels like the last handful of years, the 5 or 6 programs that are at the top consistently of the FCS are the 2 schools in North Dakota, the 2 schools in South Dakota, and the 2 schools in Montana.
Correct.
We get the whole Dakota matchups in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So anytime you get one of the Dakota schools against one of the Montana schools, have that circled on your calendar for non-conference. And, of course, the numbers match up for it, 2 versus 3, as you said. Remember that game, Montana State versus SDSU in Brookings? Incredible game.
Yeah, atmosphere was insane.
Ago.
The crowd was insane. The game was great. Expect it again. And a big game. We'll have that story tonight. We're going to preview that game as Kelsey Dennehy will bring us that story. We'll also talk with USD, who's prepping for a little bit of a lesser opponent, right? And not to knock Lamar, they're not Iowa State. And they're not playing at Iowa State, which would be a little bit challenging. And then huge game in high school volleyball in Class A. Number 1, Del Rapids. Number 2, Sioux Falls Christian. It's the first time they're meeting since Del Rapids snapped the long streak of state championships for Sioux Falls Christian. And Ian gets a chance to go down to that, Ian. You're going to have fun. I think that'll be another loud atmosphere there at the Sioux Falls Christian Gym.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I feel like it's always a loud atmosphere, but anytime you get, we talked about 2 versus 3 in football and now a 1 versus 2 in volleyball. Exciting atmospheres for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Good stuff coming tonight on KELOLAND Sports at 6 and 10. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk Football Friday on our Friday show tomorrow. Thanks for watching SportsZone All Access.